Hello out there, YinzerCrazies, and thank you so much for joining us. We are, of course, supported by YinzerCrazy.com and sponsored by Case Pacific Meal Prep. Check them out. They're the fastest meal prep service in the 412. I am fortunate tonight to bring you episode 2 of BUCN Crazy. We hope you enjoyed episode 1. And if you missed it, make sure you go back and check it out. You do that by subscribing to us on YouTube. Just type in YinzerCrazy. You'll find us. Hit the subscribe button, and you can check out episode 1 with none other than the Fort, Michael McHenry. We were thrilled to be joined by him, and he broke down a lot of relevant Pirates information for us. And, of course, we talked about right when these new rules are implemented in regard to pitchers and foreign substances. Hit on all those topics with AT&T Sports Network and former Pirate catcher Mike McHenry on episode 1. Now it's time to transition and bring you episode 2. And I'm really happy to report that neither of these gentlemen have been suspended for foreign substance use yet.
I'm trying. I'm still trying.
It could happen at some point, but as of now, they are still eligible to be on BUCN Crazy. They, of course, are part of the great team over at YinzerCrazy.com. You can read them weekly on the site. None other than Elliot Hicks and David Stegan. What's up, guys?
Can we do the draft now? Like, I'm tired of waiting. I want to do the draft. I want to trade some guys. Let's get moving here. I'm tired of losing games. Let's get some of the other fun front office stuff underway.
I think you just need to pull up your PlayStation at this point and turn on GM mode and have a little fun there to occupy some time.
Yeah, it might come to that. But even on the PlayStation, I want to make trades, but I don't want to wait 3 years for these guys to get ready. I want my studs now. I want to win now.
Fair enough. Hey, we have a former Pirates pitching stud on the program today. And actually not just pitching, but at the dish too, as he hit a mammoth home run. You guys all remember when I say his name. He was a Bucko from 2002 to 2006, and his MLB career spanned 13 years. We're super pumped in just a few minutes to bring you Kip Wells. When was the last time Kip did anything Pirates related? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. So we're happy to summon him and bring him out of his cave in Texas. Get him talking Bucko baseball and all about this new rule enforcement, of course, that has everybody up in arms currently in Major League Baseball. It's one of the hot topics we'll touch on. But first, I think it is hashtag Hugwatch season, Elliot. And we just heard this week 2 hot names to the Pittsburgh Pirates, to neither of our surprise, I'm sure, that are on the market. One, Adam Frazier's name has been thrown out there already as we try to make our final push to get him to start the All-Star game in Colorado. And John Heyman just yesterday broke the news that the Blue Jays are highly interested in Pirates closer Richard Rodriguez. So, Elliot, I start with you. What do you make of all of it? And if you're Ben Cherington, what are you entertaining currently?
Well, you're right, Mike. It is Hugwatch season in the Berg, as well it should be. While I'm all on the Adam Frazier train for the All-Star game, I got the pin right over here, vote your Bucks. You should vote for him now, but then as soon as the All-Star game festivities are done, ship him out of town. See you later. Adam Frazier, by far, I would say probably the most talented Pirate this season. I think the entire Pirates Twitter has changed their handle to the Adam Frazier Stan account. And he's been great. He's had a great few years in the Berg. But this team, obviously, very obviously, is not ready to win. And even though he's still on the right side of 30, I don't think that he's going to be around to be a major cog for the next Pirates team. And his value is just too high right now. He's performing very well. We can get more for him at the deadline this year than we could, if we waited until one of the next 2 years to trade him. So we'll have some fun with Frazier for the next couple of weeks, ship him out of town. Hopefully he can make a nice playoff run with whoever we ship him off to, and we can get some good prospects. And Richard Rodriguez, the other guy, the rumors coming out that he could go to the Blue Jays, as you said, that would be a pretty good landing spot for him. And his Pirates career, of course the Pirates aren't winning anymore like they were in 2013, 14, and 15 when we were just picking guys up off the scrap heap from wherever and turning them into Cy Young contenders almost. But Richard Rodriguez, he came out of independent ball, I believe, when we first brought him in a few years back. So if we can get, anything of note for him in a trade, it's going to be awesome. And it seems like that, contending teams can really use a guy like that as a setup piece or maybe even a closer in a pinch. I think that both of these guys and maybe a few more should be on their way out of town here within the next month.
It's definitely the hot news, of course, in Pirates land. In this leading off segment, we also like to take a look at the biggest stories of the week. And I think both of them came from one game this past Sunday against the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm not going to steal your thunder, David, but I think one would be a start from a rookie, and the other might have been one of the greatest Pirates plays of all time.
Yeah, I mean, first we had the Max Kranick. He had 5 perfect innings kind of out of nowhere. He's an interesting guy to watch. He's been one of the Pirates' kind of lower ranked prospect, usually kind of in the mid to late 20s. Could he be JT Brubaker 2.0? He's not a guy who's going to blow you away with 100 miles an hour, but he showed out there that he's going to battle, he's going to fight. And if he can just give him some quality innings, give us 5-6 innings and let these guys, pick up the slack offensively and carry him. That's really all we need out of our starting rotation. And I, as a fan, I'd rather watch the Max Kranicks of the world get their shot than rolling Trevor Cahill's corpse out there for, another few games. And the second part, of course, Kranick got helped by the man, Brian Hayes, and that immaculate play behind third base. My favorite stat that I saw of that, he threw that ball 159 feet. So that's 53 yards if you want to put it in football context. That was a deep bomb to Juju in the corner of the end zone, and he hit his target in stride across his body. It's just awesome. And the fun thing about Cabrian, this isn't going to be a one-off deal. We're going to be seeing these plays once a month, once a week for hopefully the next decade.
Yeah, it was immaculate. There's really no other way around it. I was watching it live from an airport, and I jumped up, and everybody was like, "What is going on? What is wrong with you? You can't be excited in this layover that you're at." And I was like, Brian Hayes just made one of the greatest plays that I've literally ever seen. And then I was at an airport in St. Louis, so they quickly began to shoo me away, if you will. But it also had me thinking, gentlemen, in our lifetime, I would say at least these past couple decades of watching Bucco baseball, you can even go back to the 90s. Where does that rank? I'll put you on the spot a little bit. You don't need to give me a list, but what are some notable Pirates web gems, if you will, that come to mind when I talk about the last few decades? David, I'll start with you.
Geez, right on the spot here. I'm thinking, I remember the one game, Starling Marte, I think it was against the Cardinals. I want to say he gunned a guy at home. Next play, made a diving catch to end it. Those 2 back-to-back, those were pretty spectacular, and those were in a big high-pressure moment. So I'm going to go with those from Marte. Those jump out for me, and I'm sure Andrew McCutchen did several awesome things in center field that I forgot about.
That works, and you just came through like Starling did in a high-pressure moment. Nice work. Elliot, anything that jumps out?
Yeah, I had completely forgotten about those Marte plays. That was quite the exciting game. I do remember watching that one live back in 13 or 14, one of those real fun years. But I think this play is in a category of its own. Like you were saying, McCutchen made some great plays. We've probably seen a few randoms over the years make some really good plays, but that Brian Hayes play reminds me a lot of stuff you would see like Nolan Arenado or Manny Machado see, and that would be amazing if Hayes can do even half of what those guys have done offensively and defensively. So, yeah, the thought of him being around for possibly the next decade for these Pirates teams is very fun, to say the least.
I think it's a fair call, Elliot. It certainly is, at least within the past decade. Hey, I'll throw out a few just because obviously I was looking into this and thinking about it as I was quite bored at my layover, as I previously just alluded to. So how about Brian Giles from maybe 2 decades ago, leaping over the left field wall, glove extended, bringing back a home run, one of the best plays you will ever see. I also remember a couple phenomenal double plays. One specifically, Jose Castillo and Jack Wilson collaborated on, where Castillo, I think it was, caught a ground ball deep into the outfield, flipped it to Jack Wilson, and he threw it onto first to complete the double play. And then the third one I remember, I think might be more about context in the actual play. The 4 individuals involved in it certainly won't go down in Pirates lore. They were Marlon Byrd, Justin Morneau, and then 2 Cubs, Ryan Sweeney and Nate Shearholtz. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Back in 2013, when the Pirates clinched the postseason berth for the first time in X amount of years, of course, and it was the play at the plate where Justin Morneau took a Marlon Byrd throw on one hop, backed up, flipped it to Russell Martin. Martin tagged Nate Shearholtz in what felt like the official turning of the tides of the Pittsburgh Pirates organization during the Andrew McCutchen tenure. All right, that was a lot of fun. So now let's get into our look ahead, gentlemen. Obviously, not ideal past series for the Buccos. They start the road trip off really well, going to St. Louis and take 3 of 4. And then they head to Coors Field and their bats go completely silent. They get swept. They score 2 runs in 3 games. Coming back to Pittsburgh, you're going to face 2 teams who are pretty damn good, the Brewers and the Braves. Elliot, I'll start with you. What are some things that you'll be watching for in those series?
Man, I'll be honest with you. We're to the point in the season where, the individual results of games almost don't even matter. It's just about getting these guys on the field, making sure that they can make, major league caliber plays, which are things that we have honestly kind of lacked from the Pirates a lot of times this year. We've seen a couple of, notable miscues. We don't need 5 perfect innings from Max Kranick in his future starts or anybody else's stuff. It's all about just doing the best you can, trying not to roll over after 2 innings if you're down big or something like that. Just keep going out there, keep doing your best, because the individual results are not all that important this season. Keep doing the best you can. You're not going to win too many games, but do what you can do.
The important thing is just everybody has fun. That's all we're at here right now.
Right now, everybody have a good time and set yourself up for it, because it's probably going to be till the 2023 Pirates are going to be the next ones that really have a chance of doing anything, and maybe even that's a little early. So set yourself up for that at this point.
Win or lose, everybody's getting ice cream, David.
pretty much. There's not a whole lot to look on the field right now. July is going to be all about the transactions. It's going to be about the draft coming up in the next week. It's going to be about the trade deadline at the end of the month. And then August, September, it's going to be seeing, are we going to see some more of these, kind of fringe prospects, nobody huge coming their way, but maybe Jared Oliva comes to the major league roster. Maybe we see, some more of the pitchers come up. We see more of guys get a chance. I feel like if you're a Pirate fan, I'm going to always say, watch YinzerCrazy and keep updated. But, when July's over, you can go on to Steelers training camp. We won't be angry. We totally get it. The one thing I'm actually kind of interested to watch, and, the Pirates almost got no hit by German Marquez the other night, Kai Tom with the 9th inning hit. We have 4 games in New York. Is Jacob deGrom going to throw a perfect game against us or a no-hitter? I'm not sure which one it's going to be, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of the two.
I do want to transition into the draft, though. However, David, you brought it up, and hey, listen, it's episode 2. We're not sending everybody away from YinzerCrazy just yet. We're keeping this train moving, and we're excited because we're working on a live draft special for you in just a few weeks here as the Pirates get ready to select at number 1 overall. Obviously, what will be another franchise changing move for Ben Cherington. So what's the latest that you're hearing and reading, David?
God, it's kind of the same. Everybody's kind of throwing their hands up. You keep hearing that the Pirates are, maybe going to go with a bat. Then you also hear reports, well, maybe Jack Leiter or Kumar Rocker that continue to kill it in the College World Series. This is such a weird year. It's just throw your hands up and figure out. I honestly don't think Ben Cherington knows right now. The interesting thing is going to be seen, a few days after the draft of where, the top 5 guys, Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, Henry Davis, and then the 2 shortstops, Marcelo Meyer and Jordan Lawler. I'm kind of interested to see where they're going to be with their demands. Are they going to try to maybe force some of themselves away from the Pirates? I was thinking about this because I like to think about Pirates draft picks at all hours of the day. The Texas Rangers have the 2nd pick. Could Jordan Lawler say, hey, Pittsburgh, I'm not taking a deal to sign with you? Maybe he tries to force his way to Texas. Jack Leiter, obviously his dad, Al, I looked it up. He made $68 million pitching in the big leagues. So Jack Leiter's probably not going to be too hung up on the signing bonus. Does he try to force his way maybe somewhere Boston has the 4th pick? Do we see kind of some of these stories play out that's going to ultimately affect how the Pirates draft is going to look? And I'm going to be interested to see some of the enterprising reporters out there, what they find out and what are kind of the backstories are going to be, because there's a lot going on with this draft and it's all fascinating.
Elliot, what's the big draft story that's kind of on your mind currently?
Well, David, real quick about one of your points about bringing guys up in August and September. We're going to have a gigantic 40-man roster crunch dealing with the Rule 5 draft. So that's going to be real interesting. We have to bring a lot of these guys up, I think, in the latter months of the season. But in terms of the draft, it's going to be really interesting. If stuff plays out behind the scenes, stuff plays out behind the scenes. But in my opinion, either one of the Vandy boys, either Kumar Rocker or Jack Leiter, I feel like these guys are just can't miss generational talents, and they can come up right off the bat. We don't have to wait for 5 years like we would with the high school shortstop. And even though these guys may be very good, I think of some other, a guy like Cole Tucker. He was not obviously the 1st overall pick. We were somewhere in the middle of the 1st round that year, and every prospect is different. But we're sitting here in 2021, and Cole Tucker, a high school shortstop, first-round pick taken by the Pirates, is still not an everyday major league player, and he probably never will be, at least not in Pittsburgh. So maybe I just have a little bit of like PTSD from an experience like that. But I just think if there's nothing that happens behind the scenes, if we miss on one of these Vandy boys, it's a big mistake. I would be all right with Henry Davis. I watched more ACC baseball this year than I ever had in my entire life, and he's obviously very talented for Louisville. So I would be okay, but I'd still be a little upset. But Rocker or Leiter, they're just so good. Vandy has made a deep run into the College World Series. I feel like it's just got to be one of those guys.
See, I'm the exact opposite. Give me the bat every single time. I am still scarred by Jamison Tyon in his 9 arm surgeries while Manny Machado was sitting on the board. These pitchers are fragile little baby goats. You cannot handle them. So many things can go wrong. Give me the position player. Give me the guy that's going to go out there 162 games a year, be a force in the middle of the lineup, and just have this really high potential. You look at the pitchers, and Mike, you pointed this out on the site, a few weeks ago. Pitchers today, the pitching across baseball has all been very good. A part of that has been the spider tech, but you also look at how Derek Shelton is using his starting pitchers. He's pulling guys after 5 or 6 innings. They're just not starting pitchers are not getting used like they used to. We have these 26-man rosters and 13-man bullpens. A starting pitcher, this is not 250 inning horses of years ago. So I say, give me the bat. I'd be fine with either high school guys or, you look at Henry Davis, it's hard to think, all right, we got a power hitting catcher just sitting right there. He solves a lot of problems. And if the National League brings in the DH next year, he's a guy who could catch 4 or 5 days a week, have a day off, and have a day or two at DH, and you keep that bat in the lineup. So I say go with the bat, and I think we'll definitely, this is going to come down to the wire here.
If these guys were completely average, I would totally understand that. But I feel like Rocker and Leiter, they're special. When we took Garrett Cole from UCLA, obviously I wasn't as tuned into the draft 10 years ago as I am now. But, he was a guy who was special. He and Trevor Bauer. And they're still both extremely special pitchers in the big leagues 10 years later. If this was a Tyon situation, or if this was, Tyon obviously was great being taken between the guys he was taken between in terms of potential. But again, there's just something with these two guys. I feel like they can't miss. I'm going to be upset to see them succeed in Boston or Texas or wherever because we passed up on them with the first overall pick. Even if Henry Davis or Jordan Lawler or whoever is a great player for us, there's always going to be that little tinge of like, man, we could have had that,
Love Nick Gonzalez so much, the Pirates' first-round pick last year. We actually have another first-round pick coming up 20 years ago, 2000, somewhere around there. Our guest, Kip Wells, was a first-round pick, I think 16th overall of the Chicago White Sox, and he had a great career with the Pirates. And we got to pick his brain a little bit about sticky stuff, about his years in Pittsburgh, and, kind of a little bit of the data side of pitching and what all goes into that.
And welcome back over here to YinzerCrazy. Thanks for joining us for another episode. We told you that each episode we're going to be bringing a special Pirates-related guest. And we have one today that I am very excited to bring you. He's a former Buccos pitcher, of course, from 2002 to 2006. And he had an MLB career that lasted over 13 seasons. He is none other than Kip Wells. Kip, how are you, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Cannot complain. It's a little rainy here in the Berg, but it's probably something that you were used to in your 4+ years here. I don't have to tell you that. No secret. We're obviously elated to have you on, man. We know you're still very heavily involved in baseball, and we're going to get into that in a second here. But sure. I think the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Kip Wells, because I was kind of growing up in the, as you were coming up as a Pirate, obviously you had some terrific seasons, 2002 and 2003 on the mound. But dude, sure. How often do you get asked about the home run against the batter's eye?
A lot. It's actually it's kind of a big selling point at this point. So I don't know how many views it has on YouTube, but I'm sure several hundred are from me or some person that I'm clarifying, because I do pitching lessons and I train pitchers. So a lot of them now don't hit. And I'm like, hey, just so you know, like I did drop a bomb in Pittsburgh. That was, at the time, I think it was the third longest home run. And then Matt Stairs hit one like 461 a couple weeks later. But it was kind of embarrassing that a pitcher had a home run on the longest home run list. So I deserve to get off the list pretty quickly.
Dude, I don't think that a pitcher will ever break that record. So that's something that you might always have in the Steel City, especially if we do move full-time towards the DH in the National League, which maybe we'll get your opinion on in just a few minutes. I'm going to turn it over to David Stegan. I know he has some questions for you. Dave, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, sure. I know. I saw Kip. You're down in Texas now, and you're running. You just mentioned you tutor some pitchers, and you're doing some stuff that's really at the forefront of pitcher training right now, using the high-speed cameras, using the data availability. In your day, I'm making it sound like you're 100 years old, but you're really just a generation removed from the guys currently on the mound. What did you have during your time to kind of get better? Were there certain statistics and metrics you looked at, or was it the feel of the ball coming out of your mound and what the catcher says?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, we would, back then we had VHS tapes or we had CDs. Kevin Roach, the video guy for the Pirates, sent me a bunch of stuff at the end of my career, and I go to put it on and I can't hardly find a device that'll play it. But that being said, we would have side-by-side videos of ourselves. Now they've got overlays and they've got a way to ghost everything to where all the pitches are coming out of the same tunnel and all that jazz. And we didn't have that, but whether I was, even like how hard do I throw? Like people would ask me, how hard did you throw? And I mean, I have videos of me throwing 99 miles an hour on a pitch that's not hit. So you can't take credit for a pitch that the velo might've come off the barrel and not your actual throw. But that being said, now we're down to the percentile of mile per hour that, 105.7 or whatever it is. And so, I mean, it's come a long ways, but I mean, it's still, you can get lost in the numbers in a way that you become a creature of numerical things and not, wins and losses, strikes and balls, outs and quality starts. And so, the challenge is for all these guys that are in that laboratory type pitching setting is to unplug some of that and still go out there and compete the way a Dominican kid comes over from the islands and says, I need to get people out to feed my family. And that's a different world, but yet we're all kind of coexisting in a kind of a utopian way, hopefully, but you can get caught up and end up, kind of outside your own body.
Yeah. And that kind of, I've heard that. And it kind of leads me into my next question is, if the stuff that is available now, when you were in the major leagues, would you have been interested in that? Would you have been like, I want to know what my spin rate today was? Or would you be more like, I don't care, Mike Piazza's in the box against me and I just got to figure out a way to get him out no matter what I'm throwing?
I mean, that's what you resort to when the action kicks in. There's times when you have a great game plan and then you go into the game and it feels like a war or a battle and you come out of it and you're like, what just happened? Like I blacked out, but yet on the same token, you've got to be able to have some feel for, like you said, just attacking the glove, they put the fingers down and you throw the pitch, but you also, you spend time kind of calculating, is this a slider? Is this a cutter? Is this a, spin efficient four-seamer or not? And, unfortunately, we've just found ways to quantify all these titles that coaches used to use as the fastball's got carry, the fastball's, heavy, and now it's, an RPM. And that's fine. It's good, but it's also, as I would say, some of the older style of baseball guy, they look at the front of the card and they can tell you who that guy is. And today's, analysis would say, turn the card over and I'll tell you who that guy was. And let's look at the numbers. And so, there's a place for all of it. I just think it's moderation in this day and age. And there's a challenge to either go too far on one end or the other in a way that, becomes a little incestual, if you will, because there's just too much, the analytics side of it would say, let's scientifically break this thing down. And there's value in that. There's also having the feel of the clubhouse, having a know, can this guy get this guy out or not? It doesn't matter what the numbers say. And you've got to kind of process all that and give it its due, but also, use your own, street sense.
Some great stuff. We are joined by former Buccos pitcher Kip Wells. He pitched, of course, for the Pirates from 2002 to 2006 and had some really great years. 2002 finished with a 3.59 ERA. 2003 went 10-9 with a 3.28 ERA in 31 games. Those are numbers you're just not seeing every day anymore in 2021. Elliot, I'm going to turn it over to you, man. I know that you had some questions for Kip as well, and maybe even some Pirates related questions.
Yeah, for sure. But, having a Major League Baseball pitcher on the show, I have to ask about the whole substance thing, this whole spider tack, the sticky stuff. I kind of wanted to pick your brain on that. And, specifically, just kind of any general thoughts on that. And, if you had to deal with these substance checks coming off the mound when you were pitching, I know some guys are cool and calm and collected. Other guys, get upset about it. What kind of headspace do you think you would have been in if you would have had to deal with that in your career?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of a passive guy in the sense that I'm not going to throw a fit. I did find it comical, though, that some of the guys handled it more as an actor, almost as, on a stage. Sergio Romo, funny enough, basically, disrobed. And, that's a way of dealing with it, and maybe that's excessive, maybe it's not. But I mean, I'm sure I would have gone along with, the protocols of what they were investigating. Obviously, it's a can of worms. So, like they were saying, can you check the shortstop's glove that's got pine tar in his glove, because he's going to throw it better to first with, a glove full of pine tar than the guy that's not? I don't know. But where are we going to draw the line? That being said, like, everybody used stuff in decades ago that was, whether it was pine tar or it was, rosin and sunscreen, or it was, tough skin, which is like a spray adhesive that you use before you wrap an ankle or something, and it gives you a little bit of tact. But the facts are, though, you're pitching in Arizona in spring training, and it's dry and there's no humidity, and you're not told to lick your fingers anymore, and you can't spit on your hand, and they need a method of creating some tact, and myself included. I had a surgery where I ended up with I didn't sweat on my right hand anymore after I had all this circulation stuff. And so I needed something to just create, some feel on the ball. And, hitters would say, hey, I'd rather him throw it where he wants to throw it and use, other objects. That's debatable. But, if they're talking about moving the mound back a foot, then with that being said, let's first remove some of the sticky stuff. If we're going to say that hitting is not keeping up with pitching, yeah, let's eliminate all the sticky stuff, and then let's keep the mound where it is. But, they've made balls different. I coached 2 years in the minors for the Dodgers after my career. And, those balls are not the same balls that you play with in the big leagues. They're a little softer. They're not quite as hard, and they don't fly as far. And so, it's hard to take one situation in a vacuum and make it what we're going to work on when there's a variety of things. And, sadly, though, they'll probably create some kind of a committee to, search that out. And really, it just needs to be policed by everybody included.
Did you or any of your teammates you played with get a little mad scientist and be like, all right, I'm going to put some Diet Coke in the microwave and put some sandpaper in there and just kind of see what happens? Did you ever have any kind of fun stories like that?
No, I mean, I train enough of these guys now that they're sending me videos of pots and, stove tops with, you got, Pelican grip combined with Coca-Cola, combined with rosin, combined with something else. And it creates even, like, to the point where the leather on the ball will stick to your finger. When you pull it away, it'll be white on your finger. But, all those things are kind of placebo. Not placebos. They're all kind of, superstition type things. And the younger you get and you're already doing those things, it's just going to make your career hard to survive if you've got a bunch of things you got to do to be successful. Whereas, 25 years ago, we would have said, hey, rear back and fire it. And now we've got a checklist of things we've got to have to be successful. And, you know, like Garrett Cole said, that's kind of hard to remove that overnight and not expect something to happen. And I can't say that arm injuries are the culprit of that, but on the same token, like you got some kind of incidental things that will happen when you make a wholesale push to try to eradicate something.
I think just drinking this is dangerous enough, David. You don't have to put it in the microwave. This is not an ad for Diet Coke. And you know what? Even if it was, I suppose they would not have any interest in working with us after I just said that.
Right.
Kip, I know we have a lot. What's that?
You should have some kind of Yingling beer or something in your possession there in the Berg.
Yeah, you know what, man? Iron City, Yingling, all of those items will probably come post-show. I think it's a pretty fair assumption, and we'll send you some if you need to reminisce a little bit about some of that good stuff. Hey man, we'll finish on a Pirates related note. Obviously, a lot of our viewers are Buccos fans, and I would say a lot are kind of within our generation of when we were maybe 17, 18 years old, watching you come up with the Pirates and pitch for the team for 4 years. What are some memories that stand out? What are do you still follow them at all? And just what are kind of some things maybe you miss about the city?
Yeah, I mean, I keep up with some of my old teammates. I mean, I still see Josh Fogg and Ryan Vogelsong, and I speak to Dave Williams regularly. And, I keep in touch with, social media obviously makes that a little easier with communication and but also sadly, like, what's going on in their world, but you're not really involved in their lives in any way. So you're just watching their kids grow up. But, we had good years. I mean, when I got to Pittsburgh, I didn't really know, from Chicago, having been traded for the first time, you kind of feel like you're orphaned kind of from your original, family. But it took me a year or two to kind of understand the city, know where and I enjoyed living in different parts of town. I lived by the stadium my first year, and then we moved to Squirrel Hill, and we lived off of Walnut Street one year, and then we lived in Wexford one year, and just getting to kind of see all the different areas of town. I enjoyed that. And then, basically, I went through proposal and marriage through Pittsburgh, and enjoyed kind of getting to see everything. I mean, obviously there's memories of well-pitched games and of, like I said, hitting, getting to, do something that's outside the norm. But it's the memories and the guys that we played with and the coaches we had that, you hope to maintain those relationships in a way that allows you to reach out to somebody today if you need to get a hold of them and, check on them. So you have to be intentional about some of that stuff, or it'll just kind of fall off the wayside, which, and by and large it does. But, the Pirates have done a pretty good job now. I like Ben Cherington. I've met him a few times and talked to him about various opportunities. And, I'm hoping that Pirates will, make that turn north and become a perennial powerhouse. Remains to be seen if they can actually pull that off. But Cherington's a good guy and has a puncher's chance at doing it. So, in this day and age, man, you just got to spend money, and you got to take chances, and you got to develop, and you've got to have a good farm system that, supplements what you're doing. And so far they're kind of putting those pieces together, and it's a tough world. Having coached for the Dodgers and seeing how they roll and what they, what stones they leave unturned, it's a big business.
Kip, a puncher's chance. We will certainly take that. Hey, real quick, before we let you go, how old are the kids, and are they following in Dad's footsteps?
I've got a 13-year-old Georgia, and she's trying to figure out what she wants to do. She's semi-motivated, but a teenager nonetheless. And I've got a 12-year-old son, Deacon, he's in the traces. He's a giant kid. So, I mean, I train kids for a living, junior high, high school, college. We'll have 2 kids in the first round this year that'll get drafted. Ty Madden, the pitcher at Texas, and a position player named Colton Cowser, who's at Sam Houston. They'll both be top I don't know, 20 picks. I don't know how today what the rankings say, but that being said, like I see a lot of these kids that are young and they're talented, but I tell them to pump the brakes. I'm just like, look, you don't do anything at 12 that is going to create a way for you to take that skill you have throwing a ball and monetize it into a college scholarship or a opportunity to play pro. So that tournament that you won last weekend and wherever, it's really trivial. And so I'm part of my mission is to get them better, obviously, but also to make sure that, the machine doesn't churn out too many of these arms where they don't make it to the finish line with the arm that they started with. And so we, like we were talking about, we've dabbled in the arm path business and how do we optimize how they throw and how do we stay connected to the ground and how do we, hand position using Edgertronic cameras and stuff to say, all right, you're here on this, you need to be here. But as far as my kids are concerned, like if it's organically going to happen, I'm going to, foster that for them. But the machine would say, start playing at 9 and don't ever stop. And that's debatable. And I've got a younger one, Eleanor, she's 9 and she's probably the killer of the bunch. So she's, she plays to win. She's watched the other two and figures out, I'm not making the same mistakes these other 2 clowns have made. So they're all good. My wife, Emily, is, awesome. And so we got 3 and we're in Houston and we still, Sean Lowe, an old Pirate teammate, his son just once stayed here in Texas. And so random things like that to where I'll have an opportunity to maintain relationships with guys that, otherwise, you might not see them for, until the pierogi hitting Randall Simon situation comes back up 10 years later.
Oh, what a way to conclude this thought-provoking interview with Kip Wells. Hey, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us on BUCN Crazy. And the next time that you make your way up to the Berg, if it does happen, let us know. We'll join you for Permanis and a Yingling on us.
All right. I'll hold you to it.
You got it. Hey, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thanks, Kip.
So pit, oh yeah, YinzerCrazy. This is it right here, YinzerCrazy. So pit, oh yeah, YinzerCrazy. This is it right here, YinzerCrazy.